Have now.
Okay, all right.
And while I am off mute, y'all, if you're able to, we would love it if you'd update your display names to your first and last name. That'll help us know who's here, help us take attendance, and it'll help everybody in the audience as well. So you can do that for us.
Good luck with this one. And for those of you that are just joining, we had over 100 people that registered today. So we're going to give people a few minutes to get connected in, and we'll start probably about 2 or 3 more minutes. We've got 2 brave people that have turned their camera on. So if there's any more that would like to show their faces, you're welcome to, or we certainly understand if you're not in a position where you can do that. There's the 3rd. And I see someone has their camera on, but it looks like we are looking at a book, maybe.
Not me.
Okay.
Thank you. You're welcome.
And as you are joining, if you could make sure that your name is displayed on your little screen so that we can record all of our attendees. And if you dialed in and you are not able to show your name, if you can access the chat and just let us know who you are connected to your phone number, that would be helpful. I see that's Tracy and Amory. Thank you, Tracy. Glad to have you here today.
Thank you. It's good to see you all.
Yeah, I see lots of familiar names and some new names. So we are thankful for your time that you've given us today and appreciate y'all being here for us to share some information with you. We're going to start. Have an echo from someone who's dialing in on their phone, but I think you just went on mute.
I think we got it.
Okay, all right, great.
If it looks like somebody is unmuted, Jamie, just let me know and I think I have the ability to mute everybody.
Okay. I added another monitor to my desk today, so now my camera is facing a different way. So I'm feeling a little lopsided right now, Michael. You might have to come over here and help me switch that around. Okay, well, it's 3:05 and I am going to go ahead and get us started here. And we are recording this, so for those that may join later, we will have the full recording to share with you. But I'm going to kick us off and first just say thank you for joining us today. This is some information that we've been getting ready to share with our members and our nonprofits across the state, and are happy to be able to finally do that today. And I'm just going to kick us off with some introductions before we get into some updates that we have coming out of our legislative session for this year. So for those of you that I haven't met or don't know, I'm Jamie Raspberry here at the Alliance. I lead all of our policy work and work closely with our state agencies, our legislature, some of our business community leaders our members, some other community partners, and just excited that we have this many people that were interested in coming to get this information today. So again, just thank you for taking out some time to join us. And I'm going to introduce Michael Martella, who works here at the Alliance with our team, and let him share a little bit about his role and what he's going to be helping with today.
Sure. Hey, y'all. I am Michael Martella, like Jamie said. I'm the program assistant here at the Alliance, and I work across all of our departments in various ways with communications, policy, and programming. And today, I am going to be helping with attendance. I'll drop some links in the chat. If y'all have questions, you can post those in the chat as well, and I'll make sure that we get to those. So that's how we'll handle those. Like Jamie mentioned, it'll be helpful for us if you have your first and last name as your display name, if you're able to update those things. And feel free to come off camera, participate in the chat, give us a thumbs up if you like something, tell us to slow down if we're moving too quickly, or repeat something if you didn't hear something the first time. And we'll make sure that we get that information. I'll get it to Jamie, or I might just chime in and say, hey, Jamie, we're breezing through this. Okay, what are we doing? Slow down. We'll be pretty informal, but formal, and that we'll get you the right information you need.
Yeah. Thanks, Michael. And really, the content is not going to take very long to share, and we wanted to leave plenty of time for open Q&A. So as we get through the updates that we'll be providing, feel free to ask questions. Like Michael said, you can come off camera or come off mute and ask questions. We can have discussion around that, or you can put it in the chat. But we want to make sure that we give plenty of time for anyone that has questions after we share the updates to be able to do that. So I'd like to introduce our special guest of the day is Bailey with the Secretary of State's office. Bailey is the Assistant Secretary of State in the Business Service and Regulations Division, and she was gracious to give us some time today to come and talk about House Bill 1344. And so, Bailey, if you want to just say a quick hello and talk a little bit about your role at the Secretary of State's office.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me, Jamie. I'm excited to be here with you guys talking about the updates that we have from this year. Like Jamie said, I am with our Business Services and Regulations Division here at the Secretary of State's office. I've been with the Secretary of State for a long time, spent some time in our Charities Division before I came over here in this role. And so the Business Services and Regulations Divisions, we're kind of 2 in 1. So we've got the business services side of things, which we'll be talking about today, and then we have the regulation and enforcement side that does not apply to us today, but we are a big division and we do a lot.
Well, thank you again for being here with us. So again, we're just happy that you were willing to give us some time today. I know a lot of the updates that we've provided during the legislative session this year came out by way of communication through our Under the Dome, which is a monthly newsletter that I share that talks about policy at the state level, at the federal level. And so we did share throughout the session 2 particular bills that we were tracking and have worked with the Secretary of State's office on getting the language to the final passage within the bill. And so some of you may not have been able to read that information or even know that these bills were going through the process. And so instead of just sending out another email communication or just language that you had to read, we felt it was important that we came on and had a conversation around it. So we're just here to do that today. There's lots of things that happened during this legislative session. But these are the 2 particular bills that did make their way through the process, and both had final passage and were signed by the governor. So both of these bills will go into effect July the 1st of 2024. So there's some things that will still have to happen over the next 6 to 9 months around particularly House Bill 1344. And so as we get closer to the reporting requirements around this bill, we will continue to do some education and some awareness because while it goes into effect July the 1st, it actually won't impact you until you do your annual filing in 2025. So you may forget all about it between now and then. So we will provide some updates probably in January of next year, leading up to the date that is set forth in the bill, which is May 15th of 2025. So the first thing that I wanted to share is House Bill 845, and Michael's going to put the link to that bill. So you will have access to go directly to that bill, which is posted on the legislator's website, and you can read through that bill. You can track all the process of it if you want to take some time to do that. This bill is really just an amendment to an existing bill, so there's not really anything major that will impact you out of this. Representative Lee Yancey sponsored this bill, and we worked with him in coordination through the process to ensure that the language in this would not be a hindrance or a burden to nonprofits, but get it to a place where it would actually eliminate some of the issues and challenges that nonprofits have had around their annual filings. So just some high points on this. This is requiring that nonprofits, when they file their annual report with the Secretary of State, their IRS annual report, that they have to include the most recent fiscal year end with that report with that filing. So this again goes into effect July the 1st of 2024, but hopefully everybody has filed their annual report for 2023, and so it won't directly impact you until you do your filing for next year. And the purpose behind adding that language to this existing bill is to streamline the reporting requirements for charitable organizations that align with the submission of their most recent fiscal year end IRS forms to the Secretary of State's Charities Division. This simplifies the reporting procedures just to make sure that there's good compliance and good governance when you're doing your annual filing. And again, all this bill did was amend the language to add that when you file your annual report, you have to include the most recent fiscal year end. So there's nothing additional that you have to do. There's nothing, no additional paperwork, or there's no filing fees or anything. It's just that whatever that most recent fiscal year end report you have from the IRS, that's what you would put with your filing to the Secretary of State's office. So again, the link to that bill is here in the chat if you want to look through that. And for those of you that may not be familiar with how to find the amended language, if you open that bill and you read through it, anything that was changed or amended or added will be underlined. So you'll see through that bill where the language is underlined that says most recent fiscal year end, and it's listed within that bill a few times. But that's really it for House Bill 845. So I'm going to stop and ask if anybody does have questions, particularly related to that bill, before we go into the next one. The 990, yes, your 990. There's a question, is it the 990 or the financial statement? And it would be your 990.
Hi, Jamie. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, just a quick question. You said that this bill really just solidified a commitment that was made in another bill. Can you tell us what that other bill is?
We're going to get to that.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you.
these were two separate bills today that we're going to talk about. And a recommendation that I would have is if you have a accounting firm or someone who does your financials for you, that you send this bill to them and share this information with them so that they understand that when they do their filings for you, that they are aware of this change as well. But just to reiterate one more time, this goes into effect July the 1st of 2024, but you will not have to do follow suit to these language changes until you do your annual filing for 2025. And again, all it does is change the language that when you submit your annual report, your annual filing, that you are adding the most recent fiscal year end of your 990 to that. Pretty simple. If you do have questions after this call, or if you think of something later, please just reach out to me. And when we share the recording, we will attach the links to the two bills so that if you didn't catch it in the chat, that you can go back and find it later. Okay, well, we're going to move into kind of the bigger discussion today, which was House Bill 1344, which was also sponsored by Representative Lee Yancey. And this bill is a new bill, new language, part of the new state statute that I'm going to let Bailey talk about, because the Secretary of State's office, when we worked with them again on crafting some of the language, but this is going to require nonprofits to file an annual report with the Secretary of State's office. And Bailey has done a great job of explaining to me the context behind this and the reason for it. And so, Bailey, I'm just going to toss it over to you and let you walk through all of this. And then I feel like we're probably going to have some more questions than we did on the other bill around this, because this is something that will be new.
Sure, absolutely. And y'all, please bear with me for two things. One, I am not going to be able to stop the phone from ringing in the background. So if it comes at a moment where I can mute myself, I will, so you don't have to hear it. And the second thing is to please bear with me, because like I said, I spent a lot of years in our charities division. So when it comes to charities and nonprofits, I get really, really excited. So with HB 1344, what is happening here is now nonprofits will be required to file an annual report. If you have any familiarity with corporations and LLCs, then this is not new to you. You know exactly what we're talking about. Nonprofits are still businesses. They are just not-for-profit corporations. So now they will also be required to file these reports every single year. This is going to go through our business services division, not charities, but business services. So each year, you guys will be hitting the Secretary of State's office twice. Once for your nonprofit annual report with our business services division, and then once for your charities registrations. The majority of them will probably be on the same deadline by May 15th. You know, charities is going to go based off of your fiscal year end. Your annual report with business services is flat out May 15th. So what that's going to consist of, it should take you less than 3 minutes to file this report. It's very easy. You're just going to update if there's an address change, things of that nature. The difference between your nonprofit annual report and the annual report for a for-profit entity is that you are going to have to tell us whether or not you receive public funds from a government agency, and if so, what government agency. So it'll be really simple. There's not an amount associated with that, just whether or not you receive those funds and from which agency. And like Jamie said, the law will become effective on July 1st, but the reporting will not be available until January 1st. So 2025 is going to be the first time that this is due. And that's simply because the law won't become effective until that deadline is already passed for 2024. So we're just going to pick up in 2025 with those requirements. Failure to file this annual report could and most likely will lead to administrative dissolution. So it is not something that you can forget. This is something that definitely needs to be filed. So don't forget it. And again, you'll be hitting 2 different divisions with the Secretary of State's office. You'll be hitting the Business Services Division for this annual report and the Charities Division for your charities registration. And again, this will apply to all nonprofits, not just charities, all nonprofits. And so that's the real difference there, is that this is, if you are incorporated or formed with our office as a nonprofit, you've got to file this report. Charities are just for those nonprofits that solicit donations. And so in order to be able to legally solicit in Mississippi, that's going to trigger the need to register with our charities division. Did we hit it, Jamie?
I think the only thing you left out that I'm sure people are probably thinking is, will I have to pay an additional fee for
That's
an
right.
additional
That's right. I
filing?
did leave that out. No fee. There is no fee associated with your nonprofit annual report. Nothing has changed as far as the charities fees and that registration, but there is no fee for your nonprofit annual report. It is free.
Yes. And I do see a question in the chat. Will we receive a notice for the new business filing?
Yes, yes.
Yes. And Bailey, you might want to just touch on that y'all are still building out this internal process and.
That's right. This is because this will become effective on July 1st. For us, it rolls into a new fiscal year. So we will get started getting all that going and building the filing portal for this and all of that as soon as we hit that new fiscal year, which is July 1st. So we have not yet built this. It will look a lot like the for-profit annual reports. And yes, I saw the question and we kind of hit on it. This will be treated, as far as business services is concerned, just like our for-profit entities. So yes, you will get reminders if you fail to file. And of course, we're going to send blasts and all that sort of stuff to let everybody know that this is a new requirement. You'll get those reminders. And we send, starting January 1st every year, we send all entities that have not yet filed their annual report with us reminder emails. And we do those in sections because there are so many. We keep going and going and going until the deadline has passed. So when that deadline has passed, so after May 15th, we will continue to send out those reminders for everybody that has not yet filed. When we get to the October or September mark, that's where we typically will start sending out notices like, hey, this is your notice that you're going to be administratively dissolved. So there is plenty of time there, and we do send out several courtesy reminders, and those are typically done via email. The notices are sent via mail as of right now, because that's what the law requires. But all of our courtesy notices, I say notices, our reminders will go out via email up until that point.
Another question is, please clarify government agency, city, county, state, and federal.
Sure. So that is actually, that is going to be in the bill itself. And I know they will attach a link for you guys. And since this is all brand new and not the addition, it probably will not be underlined in the version that you see. But the entire bill is brand new. And so when you're talking about, it's talking about any local government authority located within the state of Mississippi. So if it's coming from the government in any capacity from the state of Mississippi, it's got to be listed in there.
And typically our nonprofits are receiving those public funds through sub-grants through state agencies, the health department, Department of Education, Human Services, CPS. So, you know, it's not as common that nonprofits would get funds through like their local cities or, you know, county government agencies. But there are some that do. But if you do receive any public funds through any of our state agencies as federal pass-through grants, you know, that's really where our nonprofits are getting state funding. Another question, the first time those on fiscal calendar years to file for 23-24 will be May 25 deadline. Correct. Right?
That is, okay, so the fiscal year component only applies to the charity portion. This is calendar year only. The nonprofit annual report is calendar year. So starting January 1, you guys are going to want to be sure to get that in before May 15th, regardless of when your fiscal year end is.
We will open it up to questions. If anybody has any additional questions, you may be thinking of some, and I do want to just reiterate that as we get closer to this filing deadline in May of 2025, you'll start getting some additional communications. We will communicate some information out in January leading up to this through the legislative session of next year. So I know it's probably too soon to kind of be thinking about this, but we wanted to make sure that we shared it before the July 1st date, because that's when the law goes into effect. Although you won't have to do anything until next year. So we will continue to make sure that we communicate this out, maybe one more time before the end of this year, but starting in January leading up to that May deadline, we will make sure that we're available to answer any questions, or if you need assistance with anything, and continue to put this information out there for our nonprofits so that they make sure that they understand what the process is. Okay. All right. There's some questions coming in the chat. If federal funds flow through another nationwide org and not through the state, does that need to be reported? For example, emergency food and shelter program.
This is not geared towards money received from federal agencies or from the federal government in any capacity. This is specifically tailored to funds received from and within the state of Mississippi.
And Mindy asked if you would share your contact information.
Yes, of course. And I was going to share that anyway, but thank you, Mindy. So my direct contact information is, brace yourself because my name is a complicated one. Hopefully you can see it. But my email address is Bailey, BAYLEA .Blough, BLOUGH @sos.ms.gov. And my phone number is 601-359-6364. And that is my direct line. And so if I'm not at my desk and you have a question that you would like an immediate answer to, you can always get our customer service team in our business services division, 601-359-1633. Always feel free to reach out to us. We are always happy to help.
And another question, hey Cindy, will there be specific information that will need to be included in the annual report?
The annual report is really just an opportunity for you to change things if it needs to be change anything if it needs to be changed. So just be sure and most of the information, since you guys are organizations that have been around for a while, that information will just immediately populate. So you'll just either minus telling us whether or not you receive funds from a government state agency. So you'll just be sure that that information is correct and then click next and roll right on through. The hardest part will probably be remembering your login to actually access the system, honestly, which we can help with that too. And one thing to remember, and this is just a housekeeping matter, the logins between our charities division and our business services division are different because you're working with two completely separate divisions. They can be the same, or they cannot be, however you choose to set that up, but they are two separate divisions. So just because you've logged into the charity side does not mean that you can access the business services side, if that makes sense.
I would recommend you set the username and the password.
I would too.
It's the same thing.
I would too, but you'll have to, don't be
Yes.
surprised when you have to log in again.
Yes.
And be sure you're logging into the right portal for the right division.
And to make it easier, log in based on the email that you receive, because it will come from the charities division or the business services division. Okay. For organizations that filed an extension with Secretary of State for November 24, will House Bill 1845 then take effect this year for reporting? This House Bill 1344, actually.
So remember, with 1344 fiscal year end does not matter.
Mm-hmm.
That does not matter at all. We do not mind, it does not, you're not going to have to tell the business services division that. You do not have to report that to us. You do not have to report the amount of any funds or any IRS 990 or anything of that nature. That's all specific to the charities division and your charities filing. This is simply for the nonprofit side of things. So it doesn't, starting January 1st, you're going to want to be sure that that nonprofit annual report is submitted to our office, regardless of when your fiscal year end is, or any extension or anything of that nature. That does not matter for this annual report.
We're going to keep it open for any additional questions. And again, if you think of some later, you can reach out to me. Bailey did share her contact information. I would just note that she's not with the charities division. So if it's something specific to your nonprofit filing with the charities division, you would need to reach out to the charities division for that.
That's correct. But I am happy to send you over to them if it's a charities question.
Or you can reach out to me, and if I can't answer it, then I might refer you to reach out to them. But some of the questions that you may have, we might can answer here. Well, I was expecting a lot more questions, so we must have just done a really good job of explaining this. Well, if there's some that continue to brew up a little bit, I'll give it a little bit of time. And I did want to share something while we have this many people captive on the line. If you have not seen some communication that we've shared out recently, we are starting a series of community conversations that kick off this week, starting in Jackson on Wednesday. And then we have 15 sessions across the state through the summer focused on public policy. So the goal is to bring nonprofits and our elected officials together to have conversation around what are the challenges, what are the opportunities, what are ways that we can work better together to strengthen our communities by way of policy change. And so our first session will be on Wednesday here in Jackson. All of our events are listed on our website. And I feel like we've hit as many key communities as we could across the state. So I'd love for you to take a look at where we'll be. Michael's going to put the link in the chat to our training and events page. It has all of our community conversations listed out. These are free events. Some people have asked if there's a charge for this. These are all free events, and they will either take place in the morning or an afternoon. And we are excited to get the opportunity to bring our nonprofits and our legislators together to discuss some really important key issues that impact communities, but what are ways that we can work together to help strengthen our communities. So take a look at where we will be and when we will be there, and would love for any of you to join. Just a little layout of how these conversations are going to be formatted. We have 5 questions that we're going to be asking at every event. So the questions are going to be the same across the state. And those will be guided questions, guided conversation, and we'll be collecting the feedback through those conversations to put forth a set of policy recommendations for the legislative session in 2025 based on what the needs of our nonprofit sector in the state is. So very important that our nonprofits attend and participate in these, as it is important that our legislators and elected officials attend and participate. So if you are in a community and you have great relationships with your legislators, your senators, and your representatives, they've all been invited. So if you want to remind them and invite them to come and join, you're happy to do that. I see Amy asked, is there a separate registration link for each location? Yes, it is. There's on the link that Michael put in the chat, that'll take you to the page that has each event listed out separately. So if there's multiple that you want to attend, we do ask that you register for each individual event. And you can catch me flying down 55 or 49 through the summer because I'll be all over the state. But again, this is an opportunity for our nonprofits to get in the room with our policymakers to have conversation to help really identify what some of the core policy issues and opportunities are that the Alliance can help support to improve our sector. Okay, let me click on this link. Amy said she's not seeing how to select the date. So if you click on the link, it'll take you to the page that has each event listed. And I'm looking at the first one, which is June the 5th in Jackson. And under that, you'll see a button that says register. And then you'll have to go to the next event and you'll see the register button under each of the events. If anybody has issues getting registered, just email myself or Michael and we can register you for it if you're not able to do that. But you'll see where we are, and I hope to see some of you there and engage in this conversation with us. So we have lots of time left, so you can either get some time back in your day or we can stay on and hang out if anybody does think of any questions that they have. Again, feel free to reach out to me, Michael, or Bailey. If you have questions specific to House Bill 845 or 1344. We did put the links in there so you can read the bills. We've got the WebEx recorded, so we'll have that if anybody wants to go back and watch. See some people popping off on camera, so does that mean you have questions or? Okay. Well, we'll just hang out here until everybody hops off, but thank you again, Bailey. I appreciate your time and the partnership that the Alliance has with the Secretary of State's office and just being able to work together to support our sector and create and support policies that do give us good information.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. We're happy to be here and happy to answer any questions that you guys have. Like I said, do not hesitate to call us.
If there's one thing that I can say about the Secretary of State's office, and there's many things, but one thing I would say is y'all have excellent customer service. And I know that that's something that y'all take great pride in there at the division.
Thank you. We always love to hear that.
Yes. All right, well, I think people are heading out, but Michael and I are going to stay here until everybody's gone in case somebody thinks of a question at the last minute. Michael, did you get everybody too?
Do you mean for attendance?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be in the recording. I can just go through the participant list.
Okay. All right, great. Well, we were excited to see this many people registered. It worked out good. So I see a question, is the registration the same that our nonprofit already files each year? We file on the business side and on the charity side.
So if you filed something on the business side before, it was most likely a status report. The status report no longer exists. There is no longer a need for that on the nonprofit side. It is now an annual report, and it is required, whereas the status report was not. So it is going to be completely separate from what you do on the charity side. So if you've already been filing that status report every year, then please continue. It'll be basically the same thing. But please continue to do that. The only new thing is that you will have to report whether or not you received funds from a state agency, and if so, which agency. So that'll be the only added step, and there will no longer be a fee because the status report did have a fee associated with it.
What was that fee?
I believe it was $25.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that that was right. We have so many fees on the business services side. Sometimes I get them mixed up, but I believe it was 25.
Okay. But we're down to just a few, so I'm gonna take that as there's no more questions. So again, thanks, Bailey. We appreciate you joining us today and giving us some of your time. And I know as we get closer to January, we will maybe put some additional talking points and communication together to work with you on getting that crafted to share out in the new year.
Absolutely. We appreciate you guys. We always want Mississippi businesses to be healthy and strong. So whatever we can do, please just let us know.
Okay.
Thanks, y'all.
All right. Bye.
Bye.